GM Tokyo, everyone. My name is Tomiwa, and I work at Safe. And I'm going to talk today about how to make a group wallet for buying things with friends using smart contract accounts and Safe Core Account Abstraction SDK. So a while back, me and a couple of my friends, we went on a ski trip together. And the trip itself was fun. We went skiing, we had some great food, we had to stay in a nice Airbnb. But there's one part of the trip that I really didn't like and I found super annoying. Anybody know what it is? Whenever you're going to go on a trip with a bunch of friends, what is the most annoying part of the trip? Splitting bills, exactly. So this is some screenshot that iMessage text group chat that we had of trying to organize the payments and the bills. Hey, pay me this for the food. Don't forget to pay me back for the tickets. Airbnb, why haven't you pay me back? And I was part of the problem too. About a week after the trip, a friend messaged me saying, hey, you still haven't paid me back. And so let's figure out why is splitting the bills so hard. So let's say, for example, me, what's your name? Bankless Brazil. Juan. John? And what's your name? Saki. Me, John, and Saki want to go on a ski trip to Mount Fuji together in beautiful Tokyo. What do we have to do? Tickets. What else do we have to figure out? Logistics, food, where we're going to stay. Right? So just the three of us, we want to go on a trip together. We have a lot of payments we need to figure out. So maybe I say, I'm going to pay for food. John, you're going to pay for housing. Maybe, what's your name again? Masaki, you're going to pay for the tickets, right? So you pay me back for this and I pay you back for this, and it's just a huge mess. And this is why we have these kind of text iMessage group chats where we're just trying to figure stuff out. Now, what if we could just basically create a group wallet, right? Where, you know what, forget all this stuff. We just create a shared bank account where we all send our money into, and then one of us can say, hey, I'm going to take money out of our shared account and pay for the food. Or you can pay for the housing, you pay for the tickets. And then we can just basically create something like a group wallet. And another name for a group wallet is called a Multi-sig, exactly. And this is a very simple concept, but you can actually think about it. It has very powerful implications. So one example of this is you could do the same thing. Instead of maybe using to pay for a trip to Fuji, you buy the US Constitution. Sounds crazy, right? But then a group of people used exactly the same concept to Constitution DAO. They raised $42 million in 7 days. That's $6 million a day. Let's take it a step even further. What if you created a group wallet for investments? And what if this group wallet had $10 trillion assets under management? What am I talking about? BlackRock. So a lot of people don't think about it, but BlackRock is a $10 trillion investment company that basically functions exactly like a group wallet. Here's another fun example for you guys. What if this group wallet at $800 billion, 125 million people contributed to it, and it has 700 signers? Anybody know what kind of wallet I'm talking about? Finn, do you know? Japan. Japan is basically a group wallet. It's a multi-sig, right? You have the parliament that's about 700 signers, population of 120 million people. You take money out of the account to pay for pensions, student loans, military, or self-defense force, things like this. So with this very powerful concept, you can basically create things all the way from paying for an Airbnb trip to basically running an entire country. So how does it work at a fundamental level? Let's make it simpler again, back to the group wallet example. So the first thing we need to do is create a group wallet and propose a transaction. And transaction can literally be anything, which is I want to pay for food. I want to pay for military. It's anything you want to do, you can propose a transaction. Someone confirms it. So for example, I say, hey, John, I want to pay for the tickets to Mount Fuji. Then you say, yes, I approve this transaction. It gets executed and the money gets sent out. So we're going to talk about how to do that using the Safe Core Account Abstraction SDK. So we're going to start off with the protocol kit, and the beauty of the protocol kit is that who here does not understand Solidity very well? Okay. So the beauty of the protocol kit, it allows you to basically deploy smart contracts and even interact with smart contracts without having to write any Solidity code. As long as you understand TypeScript, you can basically not write smart contracts, but interact with smart contracts. Auth kit, on-ramp kit, auth kit for authenticating, we'll get to these later. We'll focus on the protocol kit for now. And then, so these are all the docs. I'll have some slides up later on that you can link to the QR code. So the first thing is, sometimes, one of the things that hold a lot of people back is, hey, I'm looking for a design, I'm looking for a front-end developer. You can just clone this repo that we have, which is a super, super simple UI kit that you can basically just use to add in additional features. So that basically takes care of the UI for you, so you can focus on the functionality. So the first thing you want to do is install some kits. So the protocol kit, API kit for basically interacting with our API service, and then the SDK types if you're using TypeScript, which I recommend. Also super important, if you're going to use Ethers, 5.7.2 6.0 came out, which is still not compatible with a lot of stuff. I see you're nodding your head. Yeah. So this is one of those things that if you don't know, it's a very hard bug to fix. So make sure you use 5.7.2. Then you want to basically start using the regular packages. So this is actually outdated. We're not using Safe Service Client anymore. This just changed like literally a couple of days ago. So it's API kit, not Safe Service Client. And it's going to be protocol kit, not core SDK. The next thing you want to know is configure the blockchain network. So one super cool thing about Safe is that if you want to basically support Polygon and Gnosis chain, and by the way, a little bit of alpha, you probably should, because then you can basically get 2 bounty prizes. All you have to do to get it qualified for additional bounty prize is one thing, RPC URL. All the rest of your code can be the same. You can support multiple chains with just that simple thing. This slide says 12 plus networks. We're actually on more chains as well. But from UI perspective, these are the chains we support. But if you go to the Safe deployments repo, and you can find that linked as well, we support, I think, almost 100 chains. So if you guys are trying to get a lot of money, win a lot of bounty prizes, you can easily stack up by deploying on Safe because we support so many different chains. Celo as well, we support Celo as well. All the different chains that are EVM compatible, we support most of them. So then you import your packages. This part is pretty self-explanatory. Then the next thing you want to do now is basically get the ETH adapter. So the beauty of Safe is that you don't have to do a lot of connections yourself. All you have, if you already have MetaMask installed, this one line of code will basically take care of everything, and it'll figure out the chain, the network you're on, things like this. All right, so then first thing you want to do is basically create the wallet. So like I mentioned earlier on, you want to get access to basically whoever's currently logged in your MetaMask. You basically can get the ETH adapter from that. And then you want to basically then just deploy the Safe. And so as you can see here, once you've gotten the ETH adapter, deploying a Safe is just literally one line of code. Safe factory.deploy Safe, and then you have your Safe deployed. And then another little pro tip I'll give you guys for when you're debugging your code is put lots of console.log statements. So for example, one thing I always try to do is I have the block explorer, the transaction service, and then the Safe app. So this way, if you're trying to figure out making sure it's actually deployed, you have basically 3 different sources of truth you can check to make sure that it was actually deployed. So viewing the deployed Safe, so then you can check it on the Safe app or then EtherScan. All right, so then back to the example. So now we've created our wallet, but now we propose a transaction. But the problem with this is that a lot of this interaction currently right now still requires you to be very familiar with blockchain Web3 technologies. But what if you wanted to create something super simple? So simple, your mom could use it. What if you wanted to create, I got a little ahead. So proposing transaction as well. So like I mentioned earlier on, you have to propose, hey, I want to send money out of this. You have to confirm that, yes, I want to confirm this transaction. And then you want to have someone execute the transaction on the blockchain. And then the beauty of this is that none of this stuff actually happens on chain until you actually execute the blockchain. So you don't need any gas fees. Anybody can just basically create a transaction, sign it, basically using the following steps, get the transaction hash, you can sign it afterwards. And then you confirm the transaction, so basically to verify that. And this is also a two-factor, this is a kind of a way of having two-factor authentication, right? Because even if my private keys get hacked, the money is still safe because then your private keys are safe, your private keys are safe, so you can swap owners, things like this. So it's basically convenience and security. So you can confirm the transaction using the Safe API kit to get all the pending transactions. And then you can basically execute the transaction on the blockchain. And like I said, again, when you're writing your code, I really recommend you use lots of console.log statements. It'll make it a lot easier to debug things. And then, so then you can also get the list of pending transactions to see what you want to confirm or deny. And then again, you can always basically verify things on Safe, on our transaction service, or on EtherScan as well. So now let's go back to the analogy I mentioned earlier on, right? So with this simple technology, like I said, you can do things like buy the US Constitution, literally buy the Constitution and run a country. But then this still requires you to understand private keys, understand, all these kinds of have gas, ETH, all these kind of stuff. But what the goal we should aim for is that we want to basically create an app. And the challenge I have for all of you hackers here today is, can you make an app that you could just basically take a phone, give it to your mom and be like, Mom, use it? Is that possible right now? Not really, but now with Safe Abstraction SDK, it's possible. And I'll tell you how. So like I mentioned earlier on, we want to go to Mount Fuji. Maybe instead of Mijuki, we go with Mijuki's mom. So me, Mijuki's mom, or you, your mom and your dad want to go, right? So hey mom, we're going to do a group wallet, okay? Okay, but then this, so you ask your mom, create mom wallet, right? Okay, so do you have a MetaMask? Do you have CFace? What's that? Do you have a Google account? Perfect. You can use the auth kit. Okay, next we need to send some money. Do you have gas? Do you have a Match? Do you have ETH? Do you have BNB? No, what's that? Okay, do you have a credit card? Perfect. Use the on-ramp kit. Okay, now it's time to pay for the execute the transaction. You know what gas fees are, right? What are gas fees? Okay, don't worry about that. We use Gelato Relay Kit. So every single thing that your mom would, or you would have to learn to use a Web3 app has been abstracted away. If you can use a bank account, if you can use a WhatsApp account, if you can use a Facebook account, you can use a Web3 blockchain. So it's like Web2 UX with Web3 tech. So let's dive into a bit more detail on how that works. So now we're going to talk about the auth kit for authenticating ourselves, on-ramp kit, and then we're going to talk about the relay kit. And I think the beauty of this too is that a lot of time people think Safe is just for multi-sigs. You can even use a Safe for like a one-of-one. And so for example, like you could have a Safe, and so why would you do a one-of-one with a Safe? If your private key gets compromised, you can just swap private keys without moving all of your assets out. So let's start with the auth kit, right? So again, maybe your mom she doesn't even know what a seed phrase is. She doesn't know what a MetaMask is, but she has a Google account or she has an email address. Log in with the auth kit. And again, it's very few lines of code. You can basically customize the modal, use the open login adapter, and then you can just basically initialize. And then once you're initialized with Web3 auth, you can basically just sign transactions using the provider and the current signer. Okay, now next part is basically on-ramping. So again, a huge problem with crypto is how do you get people on-ramped? Well, most of us already have credit cards. So with Stripe and using the on-ramp kit, you can basically just use Stripe to basically have easy on-ramping. It's only available in US, but yeah. So then you can basically use the on-ramp kit. And this one's even easier because a lot of the work has been taken care of by like the Stripe iframe modal. So it's literally just 2 lines of code really, init and open. And boom, just like that, you can on-ramp people with a credit card. And then finally, the gasless transactions piece. So again, another huge problem people have is gas fees, right? So, even if, okay, now I've on-ramped with the credit card and I bought USDC, now I need to have Manage. I need to have Polygon. I need to have ETH. Well, now with the sponsored transaction, you don't have to do this. So you can basically just say that anybody who wants to interact with my blockchain, I put maybe 3 USDC or 5 USDC, and I say all the transaction fees have been covered. So you don't have to worry about this. And then so this is kind of an idea of what it would look like. So basically here you can basically see the steps involved. So basically just defining and the beauty of this too is that when you look at the code, actually everything that you would do to create a regular transaction is gonna be the same for relaying. The only difference is the operation.call. I forget where that line of code, yeah, right here. Operation type.call. Everything else is gonna be the exact same as you would pass in for a regular transaction. And you probably want to increase the gas limit as well because it's gonna be a little bit more complex. But besides that, like if you can execute a regular transaction, you can do a sponsored transaction as well. And then this is kind of just like a little bit more detail on like what kind of, like what data you're encoding in the execution transaction call. And then this is an example of what it looks like. And again, so the really cool part about this here is you see account 3 executed this transaction, but they literally had 0 Matic in their bank account. We can still see here the contract was the Gelato network relayer, basically moves ETH from our multi-sig to our destination address. Yes, and so with all of that, auth kit taken care of, on-ramp kit taken care of, relay kit taken care of, we now have a mom wallet. Mom wallet, get it trending, hashtag mom wallet. And then so that kind of concludes the bulk of the talk. And then so now we can have lots of time for like questions, answers, things like this. A couple of things I wanted to give you guys. These are some developer docs if you guys want to scan that real quick. All right, who wants some alpha? No one? All right. Oh, you want alpha? Okay, I'll give you guys some alpha. So first thing is lots of bounties. And I think the super cool thing about building on Safe and why I think all of you should build on Safe is that in terms of bounty stacking and like sponsor stacking, Safe is probably one of the best tools for that, right? Like if you build on Safe, you can build on almost anything else. So for example, with Gnosis chain, they're actually giving $2,000 for building on Safe. So if you build on Safe and you build on Gnosis, automatically getting $2,000 in additional bounties. Polygon as well. We support Polygon mainnet, and we partially support Polygon. We support Polygon Mumbai as well too. So that's another bounty you can get. Ethereum Foundation, you can get that as well. And also we're deployed on Celo as well too. So you can also get Celo bounties. So if you're trying to get some bounties, build on Safe. So yeah, another cool thing about Safe is that we have sponsored transactions on Gnosis chain as well too. And actually, if you download the Safe space, all the like RPC URL transaction services are already there for you. So if you build something on Safe and you actually want to get users and stuff, you can actually get their gas fees covered. And yes, another super cool thing is superfluid. So we're also doing a wave pool with superfluid. So again, like talking about like just stacking more and more and more and more bounties. We're doing a wave pool with superfluid. So you can like build something here with superfluid and Safe, use it at ETHGlobal, and then after ETHGlobal, submit it again for the wave pool. Also, we're hiring. So if anybody's looking for jobs, apply for jobs at Safe. Great place to work. And that concludes my presentation. Arigatou kasima. Questions? Yes, John. Yep. So there's a couple ways we help with account abstraction. So like the way we define account abstraction is that basically abstracting the differences between the Web 2 and the Web 3 ecosystem. So we help because again, like you don't have to worry about gas fees. And actually with the relay kit, you can use Gelato or you can basically like try to implement 4337. And I think with 1.4.0, and I think Richard probably can confirm this, we can also support 4337 out the box too now. And it's deployed on Gurley testnet. Yep. So there's two ways. You pay yourself. So like in the previous example, I had a balance up there. So like, for example, I could say I'm going to like cover like $3 worth of gas fees for anybody that interacts with my smart contract. Or it could be sponsored by like the chain, right? So like, again, a lot of these blockchains, like the same reason people are doing bounties, they're trying to incentivize people to use their chain. So like, just like we did with Gnosis chain is basically covering the cost of all transactions on the Gnosis chain network. So so for example, for me, I would put like, yeah, in EOA. So I would like deposit like $3 into the Safe, the Gelato like bank account, like a credit basically, and you prepaid, exactly. Exit rights, yes. So ask the question again. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so, like, if you were to, so like, giving exit rights to a DAO in this sort of account abstraction framework,
Yeah.
people would just have account abstracted wallets, and then they would join a DAO, which would be sort of like a Moloch DAO, which would be like the layer on top of that account.
If I understand your question correctly, you as an individual can have an account abstraction, and your DAO could also like an account abstracted wallet, and the DAO could also have an account abstracted wallet. So a DAO and a wallet are like two separate concepts. The DAO uses a wallet, and the wallet can be account abstracted.
And so I'm saying, like, in like the Safe, that's I guess what I'm struggling with. Is like with Safe, how do you do rage quit?
So there's Zodiac. So Zodiac has like modules that you can add on to this. So you can Google like Gnosis Zodiac, it'll show up, and you can basically add Zodiac modules onto your Safe to add rage quit functionality.
For 237, there's a volume of abilities.
There is like, it's still in like a experimental stage. So there are some modules that like, it's not really ready for production use, but you can like try them out. And I think if you use like 1.4.0, which is on Gurley now, you can support 4337. You have to add the modules. Yeah.
In this with Safe. By adding a module, I have got the module, I got the function like validated user operation and
Yeah.
modules. But how does entry point contract know that this is the module, this is a 457 account?
I think you'd either have to whitelist it, or I can maybe show you an code example afterwards, and I can show you what I'm talking about. Any other questions? Okay, I guess that's the presentation. Thank you very much.